Welcome to DayZ. Infected, or as many of you call them, zombies, are the first obstacle new players face in the world of DayZ. There are three main ways we should deal with these infected. We should fight them, we should lock them, and we should lose them. All three of these have their own place in your survival, and by the end of this video, you'll be using zombies as a tool and less of an obstacle. Infected only have three states: chilling, investigating, and aggro. The only way a zombie can aggro onto you is by seeing you. If a zombie spots you or hears you and you go behind cover, they'll investigate this area, and if they don't spot you, they'll go on about their day. So being quiet is really good. You can achieve this by wearing light shoes and crouching around those heavily infected areas. You don't want to get hit by an infected ever. This seems obvious, but really process. There will always be another infected. So understanding how to avoid all damage is of the utmost importance. Here's a basic principle I live by when it comes to fighting infected on flat ground with no cheese involved. What I mean by cheese is like jumping on top of a building or punching them through a window. If one infected comes to fight me on flat ground, that's easy loot. I'm gonna take all of his money and I'm not gonna get hit. If two infected come to fight me, it's gonna produce a little bit of sweat, but it's absolutely doable to fight them both without being hit at all. Three infected will leave you with a couple cuts, maybe yellow blood, and a chunk of life missing. Four infected, if you don't get hit by that, send me your YouTube channel, I'll subscribe. Anything above this is virtually impossible to do a no-hit run on because there are simply too many hands coming at you. And we'll get into that more in just a bit. If you ever get into a situation where you aren't in control of everything, I advise locking yourself away and waiting till you get your bearings back. If you just lay AFK in a building for 1 minute, with all the doors closed and you're not in a window, the infected will slowly lose interest and go bother some other gamer. With that being said, now we're gonna get into fighting, locking them in, and losing them. Enjoy. By right-clicking, we raise our fists. If we walk backwards, we will block, and this will allow us to block pretty much unlimited amount of zombies so long as they're hitting where our fists are. And I'll show you that in a second. Alongside this, if we right-click, back up, and hold control, it'll not only slow up the backup speed, but it will also allow us to regain stamina faster. We can hold right click and left click and we will punch with a jab or a cross. And if we hold shift, we will do a power hit, which takes more stamina, but will stagger our enemy. And we can do this with any melee weapon. It works the same for just about everything. Now, when you find a zombie or an infected, what you want to do is you want to get one by itself and you just want to watch the animation that it has. So let's get this guy to aggro on us here. And I'm just gonna right click and I'm gonna back up and block this infected. And I want you to notice the animation that it's doing. Are you reading it? A 1-2. So we're gonna, now that we know that, we are going to punch in between the 1-2. You could do a hard punch or a soft punch, it doesn't matter. The cool thing about the hard punch is it staggers them and it gives us an opportunity to sort of chain those attacks together, which I'll show you in a second. But even if you just want to punch in between, you could kind of find their rhythm and then jab them in the head. Whenever you're looting an infected, you want to be at their feet, looking up at them, or at their head, looking down at them. For some reason, it kind of like on the sides, it can be a little bit wonky. In a perfect world though, you will stagger the infected over and over again, looking something like this. I'm holding right click, holding shift, and then left click, boom! And I'm waiting until he's done staggered, and I'm hitting him before he gets a hit in. Hitting him before he gets a hit in. I'm not allowing him an opportunity to get hits on me, and I'm controlling the circumstance by staggering him over and over again. If you look at anything in the world, and it doesn't have the plus sign on it next to its name, that means there's nothing in there. If it does have the plus sign, that means there's an item in there. In this case, it's my apple. Come back. I want to show you guys quickly how effective blocking can be. So I don't have God mode on. I'm going to try and block all these infected. Come as you are. As a friend. Uh-oh, some are coming behind me. I'm still able to block them all. Just to prove to you I don't have God mode, I'm going to get hit right now. So that's sort of to show you and demonstrate how effective blocking can be. That is like 10, 15 infected right there. And just by holding right click and walking backwards, we pretty much stopped all of them from having any impact on us. The next thing I'm going to show you is by far the most effective way to deal with infected. And that's just locking them in a building. The AI for the infected is pretty terrible. And because of that, we could sort of abuse a lot of the mechanics that the infected struggle with. Like, for example, they really struggle turning. Look at this. Watch this. They really struggle with that turn, that tight turn, right? So something we can do is we can use big areas like this to lock in a bunch of them. And we can also use like tight turns to sort of funnel them into a location. So I'm gonna try and lock all these guys in. If you do ever get into a building and you're overwhelmed by them and there is something to jump on, you could always just do this. So I just want to show you what locking infected in can look like. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 zombies. I'm gonna jump over this guy. I'm gonna run over here, running across, running through, and boom, bye-bye. All those infected are helpless now. They cannot get out. And sure, when you lock a bunch of infected in, if you have a billion aggro on you, you're gonna have more. Now, something that I want to show you is there are certain buildings that are going to be better and certain buildings that are going to be worse. And when it comes to locking infected in, and it really comes down to one thing: how much space is in the room or place you're trying to put the infected. So I'm going to give you a really good example of that. Here we have a fairly open spot with a little turn here. I can make the infected turn here, and we can lock them in really easy. That's a really big space, and it allows us to give like a wide berth as the infected attack us. Now, let's say I only want one of them. You could even do this in really small spaces. So right here we have a pretty tight corridor. I'm gonna stand at the door and I'm gonna right click, walk backwards, and hold control to make it a little bit bigger space. Notice how I tracked her as she came in, and now she's locked in there. Now, I could do it there, but let me just take this across here. This one, for example, this is gonna be really difficult to lock that infected in because the space doesn't allow for me to give like a wide berth around her. So I would have to like almost get locked into a corner. See, she could hit me and she's not gonna, and now I'm stuck in the corner. So this is probably the thing that kills the most new players when they're trying to lock things in, is they put their back into a corner where now I can't squeeze out of the space. How you can kind of counter this sometimes is you could stagger the infected. The problem with that though is if they are like tight around that corner, they are getting pushed back into that corner. So in the same way that I can't get around right now, they can't get around right now. They're kind of locked in their spot. If this ever happens, just stay calm. Remember that you could block forever, and then we could slowly fight our way out of the circumstance. Now, when you're fighting infected also, I want to point out something. You do not want to punch at the infected's head. Let me find another guy down here. Meow, boop. He's like, what the hell, dude? So when we're punching at the infected, I want you to think about punching a little bit over their head. Okay? Let me actually turn my crosshair on. So here I have my crosshair on because I hate myself here. So I'm not going to punch here. I'm going to punch here above. You see that? I'm punching almost way above. I could punch way up here if I'm close enough, and it'll hit him in the head. The difference in a blow to the head versus a blow to the body is massive. It's huge. It's a huge difference. You will punch, like if you're just doing light jabs like this, you could probably punch him in the body maybe 10 times. If you do 4 light jabs in the head, you can knock him out right away. The main thing that new players struggle with when it comes to locking infected in is understanding where the door handles are. And this is going to be something that I'm not going to be able to show you a tutorial to prove to you that the door handle's right here, right? You're just going to have to play the game enough to where you get used to where the door handles are. And you can kind of walk by and just put a flick out because you're already aware as to where that door handle is because you're a nerd and you've been opening doors on this game for 2 years of your life, maybe. Who knows? But look at, I'm circling, making them circle this thing. I could do this like on a bed. I could do this on so many things. I'm locking them in. Now I'm turning off my HUD, so it's not going to show me where the door handle is. And I just want you to understand that you can like flick onto the door handle too. This is something that I do very often. I'll like run past a bunch of barrack and I'll just flick onto it. And that really comes down to knowing where the door handle is, like I said, and understanding like the uniqueness of every door. For example, when we get to industrial buildings, sometimes it's hard to know where the door handle actually is. And actually, I'm going to go to this industrial building over here. I'll give you a really good... So, as I said before, the bigger the space that you're working with, like this is a really big space, the better it is for locking in infected. So, here I'm going to... This is a really open space here. So, if I had a bunch of infected outside, I could literally run a track here, right? Think of it like California Speedway or some like NASCAR race for those Americans out there, or some F1 race that's just on a loop. We could just run the outside of the track, and what that will do is the infected won't be fast enough to catch you. The problem is you may run out of stamina, right? And then as we come on back, we could just boop. Now I've locked in all those infected. And you can do this in so many different buildings. I'm going to show you another sort of mechanism that comes at play right now when it comes to locking in infected, and that is using a ledge or a sort of a funnel to get them to do what you want. And I'm going to show you right now what that's like. Okay, so here I have a million infected outside. I'm just trying to give you guys ideas for sort of different locations that can be effective at locking zombies in. All right, so here we go. We have a bunch of infected. We're kind of funneling them down this hallway here. I'm gonna block this guy, and I'm just gonna let everyone kind of funnel in. I'm just keeping them all over here, letting them slowly fill in. Yeah, they can't pass. You guys see what's happening here? What am I gonna do next, guys? Bam-ba-da-ba-na. It's Jason Bourne. Boop. Now I've locked all those infected in. Now, I could sit here and show you every single building and how I lock them in every single building, but I feel like that'd be a large waste of time. I'm just gonna try and show you guys the core principles and like different locations that you can kind of use. I do think that blue tin that I just showed you right down here is one of the best buildings for locking in infected, just because of the way that the funnel works. And I also think these red sheds, which are everywhere and give you a lot of opportunity to do this, are also one of the best buildings. So what you do is you go into a shed where the neighboring shed has the door open, and look at all of the infected are going to aggro where I am in this location. They're going to aggro to that side of the wall. Check it out. They're all pulling in. And what you do is you sit here, you wait till you hear the infected all grouping over here, and you go boop, and oh, boop. Then you go back in. And now I do it on this side. Check it out. They're all going to gather at that spot on the wall. And you can also use this to gain distance in between you and infected if you want to run into a building neighboring the one you're in right now. So boom, I got, let's take some guesses here. How many infected do you think are behind this right here? We locked a bunch in there. I'm willing to say 15. 15. Let's see. Bam, 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 bam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 exactly. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, baby. So these are just ideas that you can use. You could do these sort of mechanisms in all kinds of different locations. And you can also use it to just get distance between you and the infected. Please don't kill me in the doorway. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So I have a billion infected on me, and I want to go. I'm currently in this green mustache, and I want to go to this building over here. Now, the problem is that all the infected, if I wait by the door, they're just going to sit right there. But if I go over to the far side, the furthest point from that building that I'm trying to run to, and I put the infected at the back side of the building, check out what will happen here. So for those of you that don't know as well, I could just lay prone out of all the windows, and these infected would slowly lose aggro. But I'm going to keep aggro right now, and watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to run, open the door, I'm going to run up here. And essentially what happens is by me going to the back corner, it buys me all that time where the infected have to break off of that location and slowly round the location over to here. Now I could do the same thing here. I'm going to draw all them by this door, and then I'm going to go back here. Use this door. Right, so you can You can choose where the infected line up. That's why I showed you the red shed just before this, just so you get an understanding as to how you can manipulate them and how they go about moving. So look at how much distance I just got in between all those infected. And let's say you have an army on you. All it really takes is you closing a couple doors, getting a little bit of space between you and them, and locking yourself in a new location to lose that giant aggro that you have. Boom, I had 20 zombies on me if I go upstairs right now, just from running away from them. Like, these guys are aggroed to where they last saw me, but they don't even know where I'm at right now. Look at all these infected that we lost. Boom, 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 boom. Bunch over here, bunch over here. Bunch down there, bunch up here. One right here, some over there. So you can use the infected's really strange AI against them, ultimately giving yourself an advantage not only to flee from them and lose them over time, but to lock them in exactly how you want. Infected are the cornerstone of this game. They work. Yes, they are wonky, but they work. And if we understand how they work, they become completely manageable. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck out there, and be good to each other. Or don't.